and welcome back to Courtside with GametimeCT, your place for high school boys and girls basketball from across Connecticut. I'm the girls basketball beat writer, Scott Ericson. With me, as always, is the boys basketball beat writer, Joe Morelli. We're going to discuss hoops, break down the polls, shout out the kids that had great games, and just shine a light on everyone across the state. Listen, we enjoy that everyone is liking the show. We're hearing a lot of stuff about it. Please like and subscribe on the GametimeCT YouTube channel. You can see the polls, read all the stories on GametimeCT.com, and you have to check out our Instagram, which is so good. We have new reels, new stories up every day. I think our Instagram is the best in the state. I said it. Joe, how are you? We're in January, Joe.
Mid-January. We have actually passed the midway point. Or at the midway point of both seasons, Scott, and it was quite the interesting week we're going to get into. It was really exciting, and this is kind of what you live for.
It is. Yeah, the midseason, that's true. So the girls basketball, we have the midseason report up on GametimeCT.com, 5 players we missed. The boys report will be out next week, I think, Monday or Tuesday next week, hopefully.
Yep.
And those are always fun. We like to do those midseason reports, just see where we're at. And then the 5 we missed, I always like, because there's kids you miss in the preseason thing, and you pick up on them, or there's a freshman or something else. We're also going to get to all the Hoophall stuff. Joe was up there all weekend, saw a lot of games. We're going to talk about the 1 versus 2 matchup in the girls that happened Monday night. And we're also going to preview and really look forward to the 1 versus 2 matchup coming up in Fairfield this Sunday. But before we get to that, Joe, the polls, we look at the polls every week. We got the girls poll, we got the boys poll, we got 1s and 2s playing each other. But Joe, what a wild week in boys basketball in Connecticut, and what a shakeup in the poll. Just start breaking it down for me, Joe.
Well, like I said, like you alluded to, Scott, it was quite the interesting week in the top 10. Notre Dame-West Haven, they had already lost a game down in Florida, but they lost their first in-state game since March of 2023. They lost at Hill House 54-53 to start the week. They played it down in New Haven, a team they beat in Hill House by 23 points 2 days before Christmas. And they did it all with UConn men's basketball coach Danny Hurley sitting courtside to watch Abdou Toure.
That was a big deal. That's a big deal. Hurley stopping by the game. I mean, that doesn't happen very much in Connecticut.
No, it doesn't. And obviously, as we will get to, he offered a scholarship to the Notre Dame junior Abdou Toure, and he's that's 17 scholarship offers for the young man, and we've talked about him a lot, and he's clearly among the best, if not the best player in Connecticut. The next night, Notre Dame Prep goes and beats Colby Cathedral, and Notre Dame Prep ends up being our new number 1 team in the poll this week. But we had asked the Lancers following that Colby win what they thought about the possibility of becoming number 1. Here's what they had to say.
We want to play everybody. We're not scared of the competition. We're ready. We're ready to go. We want to play the best teams. But if we get that 1 seed, we'll take it. We'll love it.
So you're not being number 1 in the poll.
Yes, sir.
Like the idea of that?
Yeah, definitely. We saw Notre Dame-West Haven lost to Hill House. They played a tough game last night. They're a good team, so we would love to play them in the state championship, semifinals, whenever. We're ready. We want to go. We want to kill everybody.
At the end of the day, you got to play the best. Last year, we talked about it. Like last year, we know who we played against to go into the semifinals, and It was the best of the best of the best. And that's what's going to happen in Division I every night. So whatever they do, they do. We can't control that. We can control how we play. That's it.
And that was Josh Charlotte and Brian Critcher, the coach. And here's the rest of the top 10 from this week. At number 10, making his first appearance in the top 10, Holy Cross of Waterbury, led by CCSU signee Elijah Parker. They're the clear favorite in the NBL. They only lost to Northwest Catholic by 1 last week, and the only other loss is to Hill House. Crusaders are for real, y'all. Northwest Catholic dropped to number 9 this week, having lost to Windsor Friday night, 76-66. They're facing East Catholic on this Friday. Ryan Tolliver averaging 18 points a game for the Lions. Number 8, Hill House. 2 days after handing Notre Dame its first state defeat since March of 23, they lost at St. Bernard. We've talked about them. Their schedule was brutal, and it's been a rough month for them. And that month of basketball will make them better for March. Number 7, Windsor. Their win at Northwest Catholic bumped them up 3 spots to number 7 from 10. It's 3 losses, 2 to East Catholic and 1 to Manchester, where they led by 27 points. Number 6, Staples, the only remaining unbeaten in the top 10. They won the Christmas tournament in Pomp Rock earlier this year. They're 9-0, and they have road games this week against Greenwich and Wilton. Number 5 is Manchester. It was a great game Friday night. We'll get into that a little bit. They lost to East Catholic 72-66. That was their first loss of the season, and they trailed by double digits just to get back into the game, Scott. And it was a great game, and they're going to be facing each other again in a few days. Number 4, East Catholic. Braden Jones had a couple of monster games last week, 30 points against Ram and 28 against Manchester in that great road win. Number 3, Notre Dame-West Haven drops 2 spots to number 3. They played Andover at the Hoophall Classic. They struggled for a while before putting it away. Number 2, St. Bernard. Again, the only loss is to Northwest Catholic and the aforementioned number 1 team in the GametimeCT top 10 poll, Notre Dame Prep. Scott, I know you had a great matchup the other night in girls basketball, and I'm sure there were some things going on in your top 10.
Yeah, once again, though, for the third straight week, no one left, no one came in. It's all the same teams. They sort of just shuffled around a little bit. And we did have the 1 versus 2 matchup that happened after the votes were in, but still happened on Monday night. We're going to break that down soon. Let's take a look at this girls poll, though. Number 10, Mercy. 7 of the Tigers' last 8 games are going to be against teams with winning records. Number 9, Ward. Some teams just give Ward trouble, and New Canaan's one of those teams. And they lost to New Canaan this week. Stanford, number 8, a road trip to Ridgefield bit the Black Knights. Number 7, Southington. Lily Cooper has the Blue Knights rolling with an impressive win over Woodstock Academy. Number 6, Sheehan. The Titans want to be a top 4 seed in Double M, and they want to avoid long road trips when they get there, so they got to keep winning to do that. Number 5, Conard. Emily Knowles is a state MVP candidate. They have a date with Northwest Catholic coming up next week, January 29th. Greenwich. Freshman center Zuri Faison has been leading a balanced offense with Maddie Utzinger and senior Kate Baxendale. Greenwich is one of 2 undefeated teams left in the state. Sacred Heart Academy at number 3. Look, if the Sharks want to be a top 4 seed in Class LL, they got to beat Sheehan, Mercy, and Hamden, all who they have coming up in the second half of the season. Number 2, Holy Cross. Crusaders won at Hoophall, lost to Northwest Catholic in an excellent game. They are still the team to beat in Class LL. And number 1, Northwest Catholic. After beating Holy Cross, the possibility exists for a perfect season. We'll see. They still have that date with Conard, still have the CCC tournament, and, of course, the state tournament. So not a lot of change there. But, you know, a couple teams shuffled up and down a little bit. We're still looking to get 1 new team in the poll. I don't remember this many weeks going by without anyone jumping in or jumping out.
There's only been so much movement in my poll as well, like 1 team in, 1 team out. But obviously, I would think that will change at some point, Scott. But maybe you got your 10, or maybe they're all better than the ones in also receiving votes. Yes, no?
It's possible. I don't know. I mean, there's a couple teams in those also receiving votes. Ridgefield's beaten a couple of these teams, so they could jump in. Hamden's obviously a dangerous team. Bristol Central, we think is pretty good. So we'll see if someone can jump in. But the big story, aside from your poll and your shakeup, you were up at the Hoop Hall tournament all weekend. I know it's one of your favorite weekends outside of Mohegan Sun and the championships. What was the environment like up there this week, Joe?
In the 2 days I was there, Scott, it was early on, the crowds weren't as good, but they had decent crowds for the most part throughout the day. Most of our Connecticut teams played on Thursday, and then we have Ridgefield boys played on Friday. And obviously, I think the bigger crowds came at night for the bigger prep schools, because I had to make my way down from Springfield to Manchester for that big game. Yeah, I will tell you, East Catholic. So they played the night before against before the Manchester game. They played the night before against Burke, Massachusetts. They spend a lot of energy making a great comeback, only to fall short, and they missed a 3-pointer attempt at the buzzer to lose 60-57 to Burke. And then they go out the next night and they win at Manchester. So obviously, kudos to them to be able to put that together. Sincere Folk had 16 points in the loss. Notre Dame-West Haven, obviously a lot of people there to see Abdul Torre. Landon Krieger had a double-double for Notre Dame, 13 points and 12 rebounds. They beat Andover Mass 51-37. Andover tried to slow it down, run their stuff against them. I think teams are going to try to do that against Notre Dame because Notre Dame wants to go get up and down. And it took a while for Notre Dame to get it going, like until the fourth quarter. Abdul Torre had 16 points, and as I said, Landon Krieger had 13. And the only other boys team was Ridgefield, which lost to Santa Barbara, California. So Santa Barbara, California comes in on Thursday. So, and then they played the 1 p.m. game on Friday. So that's like a 10 a.m. in the morning game for Santa Barbara. And it took them a while to get loose. But they shot 12 of 26 in three-point range. And that's a really good shooting team. They have a lot of size. I mean, Ridgefield's not bad. They're not as great as they've been in the past, but they're okay. And right now, going into this week, they're undefeated in the FCX. So, it's going to be hard to knock them off in the league. Staples has been the team to beat. They're undefeated and they're in the top 10, but Ridgefield's still very dangerous. So it was an enjoyable week. And again, I also saw Holy Cross girls who needed overtime, as you'll talk about. But it's a great experience for all these teams. And to get the invite, you go. You find a way. You go. Whatever they tell you, you go there. I mean, you don't turn down the Hoophall. It's like it's center stage in high school basketball and prep school basketball for 5 days up at Springfield. And I do enjoy it. Scott, I hope you get to go up there one day. It's really enjoyable.
I got a text from a friend whose kid plays for we'll call it a mid-level boys team. He said, "How do we get invited to Hoophall?" I said, "That might be a long stretch, but you keep playing well and plugging away. You never know." But they seem to invite the best of the best to this tournament. I mean,
right, but see now you have this.
The invitational is different. That's what I told them.
The invitational,
you have a chance.
Where a number of boys and girls teams got to play in Springfield Saturday and Sunday at different venues. I mean, and it's I think teams from 8 different states, including Connecticut, were in it, and it's an opportunity to be in here. You're not in the Classic, but you are in an event, and again. You play 2 games up there against teams from out of state, and it's only going to make you better for March. And to tell your friend that success, you're rewarded for your success.
You are,
and obvious, and more success. And they do their homework. They ask people, how these teams doing, and they do it throughout. I mean, if you're coming from California to play in this, it's a big deal.
Speaking of getting better and playing the best of the best, Sacred Heart Academy played Christ the King.
Right.
UConn recruit Olivia Vicoso. The Sharks can only get better from that game. Christ the King won the game, but you go play that team who is a national institution. I mean, Christ the King, everyone who knows basketball knows Christ the King. So that was a huge deal for Sacred Heart. They lost the game, but you have to just get better playing in a game like that. I know you saw Holy Cross. They had a great overtime win, 51-47. Over Springfield Central. Shania Howard had 23 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. She was named the MVP of the game. Isabella Lombardo had a good game with 9 points and 4 steals. And Maddie Niebold had 11 rebounds in that game. Nice win for Holy Cross to go up there and get that win on a Thursday afternoon. Holy Cross comes back and on Monday night has to play Northwest Catholic. I was up there in Waterbury. It was a great environment. Really big crowd in that little gym in Holy Cross. Lots of people came out. There was lots of coaches from other teams that didn't have games there. And I saw some kids from other schools there watching the game. Great 1 versus 2 matchup. The teams were a little tight early on. It was a slow first quarter, but it really picked up from there and lived up to the hype of how good that game could be. It wasn't particularly close. Northwest Catholic scored 25 in the third quarter. Opened up a 9-10 point lead, and it never really got closer than that. But Holy Cross kept plugging away and kept fighting. And Holy Cross, like I said earlier, is still the team to beat in double L. But Abby Casper had 20 points. She scored 15 of those points in the second half as she heated up. Her sister Samantha had 5 threes, kind of working the inside out. I love when sisters or brothers work the inside out, and they were working it last night. And Samantha had 15 points. Shania Howard had 18 for Holy Cross. And one girl I wanted to shout out was Quinn Berry. She did a really good job defensively against Casper in the first half and offensively with Casper guarding her. Casper was fronting her, and they were able to lob it over the top to Berry a few times and score. She's a really good, quick player, tall and quick. She's coming on. She didn't play a lot for them last year, but she's playing really well for them now. Northwest Catholic got through this test. They have Connor coming up January 29th. And Northwest Catholic really showed, I think, last night when you go watch that game, that they are much more than just Casper and Staunton. They have a lot of really, really good kids on that team. They were deep. And I was excited to be up there, and it was awesome. And now we get a boys matchup in the same week, or maybe a week later, Sunday, in the Pitt Center, in the newly remodeled Pitt Center, which is beautiful. I went up there for a tour before they opened it.
Yeah.
But, Joe, tell me about this matchup coming up Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be – those of you who want to see the Chiefs and Bills, you can go to this game instead, and then 1-2 here. Notre Dame Prep has got a tremendous team. I mean, Cameron Salters, McDonald's All-American Game nominee, Josh Charlotte, point guard. They've got tremendous talent. I mean, they could have they basically had Notre Dame-West Haven down last year in the semifinals, and Notre Dame West Haven hits a great shot to send it to overtime. So it's basically, again, they've got players. I mean, they've got Nasir Dunlap, they've got Jameer Reed. They have plenty of options, and like I said, you're going to be playing on this brand new court. It's going to be fun for them. It's right across the street from their school. It is interesting they're playing on a Sunday night. I think be better off playing on a different night, but hey, that's what they decided. I mean, hey, I got to give credit to St. Bernard to come all the way down, 95, what, an hour and 15 minutes probably, to come down and play this game. Well, that drive
would be better on a Sunday than it would be on a weeknight, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but they got to go back and go to school on Monday. So, but regardless, I mean, it is what it is. And Amari Gray is a tremendous guard for St. Bernard. He knows how to draw fouls. He scored 30 against Hill House last week. He was the ECC Division I Player of the Year last year. And then you got the Marshall brothers, Amari and Curtis, and they dominate inside. And I don't know, man. This is going to be one great game. I'm looking forward to seeing it, Scott. And again, obviously, the winner will be number one, but you got Notre Dame West Haven right there. It's going to be very, very interesting down the stretch. But this is going to be a good one, and I imagine you might see some coaches there watching.
Yeah, and like I said, that Pitt Center is beautiful. They got a huge new scoreboard that lights up and shows everything. I assume they'll have all that going for the game here on Saturday. There's some great arenas in this area. I mean, Quinnipiac, the new Fairfield University place, and this one. And the Pitt, it's still the Pitt Center, but they sort of rearranged it. The court goes a different way now. It goes a different direction.
Oh, it goes up and it goes the opposite way now?
It goes the opposite way. If it went east-west, it goes north-south, or whichever way they switched it. The fans are right on top of everybody now, instead of kind of being back, which is the way it was in the old Pitt Center.
Have they improved the park? Has the parking improved, Scott?
I can't speak to the parking. When I went up to visit, it was not that easy, but I'm sure they have something in place for this. It's not like Quinnipiac where you have the arena and the separate parking right there, where it's beautiful. You're going to have to kind of park inside the campus. There is a garage on campus there, so I'm not sure about the parking at Sacred Heart. That's always the issue there. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it to go to this arena. And you could always just park at Notre Dame Fairfield and walk across. It's right up the hill, and then you're at the Pitt Center there. So it's
get
not
some
too
good
bad.
exercise on probably maybe a cold night. Who knows?
It might be a cold night, but it's good exercise. You do have to go up that good hill.
Yes, you do.
But it's a great venue for that game. I mean, nothing against Notre Dame's regular gym. It's a small Catholic gym, but getting to play that game in a proper arena is really cool and worth it for St. Bernard to come down here and do that.
And chances are they may see each other again in March too. Maybe a Mohegan. I'm sorry.
Let's hope. Let's hope they can play again. I mean, we want to see all these teams play again. I love that the boys are playing all these games, but let's get them in March. That's when they really matter.
Absolutely.
Joe, what are the other games coming up this week? We have other huge game. I mean, you got some big ones up in the CCC this week too.
Yeah, I mean, East Catholic is involved in both of them. I mean, on Friday, East Catholic, number 4, is at number 9, Northwest Catholic. I mean, these are two former Northwest Conference rivals when they played in that conference. They've been rivals for years. And Luke Riley from East Catholic and and John Mirabello from Northwest have known each other for decades, and now they're in the CCC. There was a CCC tournament final in 2020. Ryan Tolliver from Northwest, I mentioned him earlier. He's committed to Northern Kentucky, averages almost a double-double a game. And then you got Braden Jones, who had a 30 and a 28 last week. So that's going to be a titanic matchup inside, I would think, and that'll be an enjoyable game. And the other game, again, Manchester and East Catholic, they don't waste any time. Like within 10 days, they're facing each other again, this time at East Catholic. I mean, it was just a great game in a great atmosphere at Manchester. It was sold out, 72-66, as I said, and Manchester comes all the way back. Their guards are fearless. They shoot it. They play 4 or 5 out, and they shoot threes like they're going out of style. I mean, that's just the way they play. East Catholic has a little bit more size with Braden Jones. So that's going to be a great game, and that's on Monday. So it should be fun. And there's plenty of other games, but those are the highlights.
Does the CCT have a boys tournament? I can't remember.
Yes, they do.
They do.
16-team, they'll have that 16-team tournament, and it'll be at the University of Hartford.
Right.
The semis and finals. The first 2 rounds are at home sites, I believe. Actually, the quarterfinals are neutral site. I'm just not sure where.
We'll get to that when we get to that. I mean, conference tournaments will be here before we know it.
Yes.
The girls have a few good games this week. First we get, and there's a couple good cross-conference games, which is a little rare for mid-January, but we got a few. First, NFA at Mercy. NFA does not shy away from these tough out-of-conference games. They played Connor, they played Ridgefield, they played Pomperaug, they played Newtown, and now they're going to go against a ranked Mercy team. Mercy's also played really tough teams outside the SEC in Holy Cross and Colby and St. Joe's, so I'm really looking forward to that one Wednesday night. Also Wednesday night, another cross-conference game, Massac against New Britain. 2 of Massac's losses have come outside the SWC, and now they're traveling to the CCC for this one. Bailey Bajda has just been on a scoring tear for Massac. We'll see if New Britain can contain her. New Britain's playing really well. But again, you don't know about some of these CCC teams because the conference is so huge. They don't all play each other. Another CCC team going outside the conference here is Thursday night, East Catholic at St. Paul. Each team comes in with just 2 losses. St. Paul is the defending Class M champions. Now they're playing up in L. East Catholic was the S semifinalist last year. Now they're up in double M. Both of those teams moving up with a success in tournament factor. Friday night, unbeaten number 4 Greenwich is going to host Trumbull. Trumbull is probably the best defensive team, them and Ward in the FCX, maybe in the state. They play just grind teams down. But look, Greenwich is 11-0. They're atop the FCX, atop the double L standings. If the season ended right now, they'd be the number 1 team in double L. We'll see if Trumbull can do it. We'll see if any of these teams in the FCX can knock Greenwich off. And finally, in the Shoreline, your neighborhood, Joe.
Yes.
Morgan at Old Saybrook, Friday at 7. Look, East Hampton is not the top team this year. They are not the top team in the Shoreline. It's up for grabs. The Shoreline Conference, a bunch of teams are really in the mix to win this, and Old Saybrook and Morgan are 2 of those teams. The last 9 seasons in the Shoreline, the league has only been won by East Hampton or Cromwell. So these teams want to break that up and get in there. So those are some games to go see. Great games on the girls' side. Great games on the boys' side. We're really heating up now. These games really matter. Teams are playing, like we said, for seedings in their conference tournaments, seedings in the state tournament. And this is when, for me, and I'm sure for Joe, when the season really, really gets fun. Second half of January, going into February, and just games that matter almost every single night.
Well, I want to go back to a point that you were saying. Sorry to interrupt you. There are times in these big leagues. There are times you don't play each other, and it's weird scheduling. I mean, the FCAC, everybody plays each other once. The SWC, they all see each other. The SEC is kind of more like the CCC. But I will say this: the CCC is the best league. I've said that for years, and it still is the case. It's Northwest Catholic.
On the girls' side, I'm between it. If I don't know if the CCC is the best in the SEC. I mean, but for boys, the CCC is the best, clearly.
But what I'm going to say is that Northwest Catholic plays East Catholic. East Catholic played Windsor twice already. Bloomfield played Windsor. Manchester's and East Catholic are going to play twice. So all the best teams are all playing each other. I don't think Northwest is I'm not sure if Northwest is playing Manchester or not, but they're still. I mean, Manchester played Windsor, came from 27 down to win. So they're all playing. So it's at least you have an idea, and you're not going to see some. Well, maybe you'll see some. And Glastonbury's good too. So and they play Northwest Catholic, and so they at least play each other. At least it's worked out this year. You're not getting left saying, "Oh man, why aren't these two teams playing each other?" At least in my mind, you're not. I mean, Notre Dame played Hill House twice, so we're going to get to see it. And sometimes it's I
love how the SEC does it, because the SEC does that with girls too, where you play teams in your tier or however whatever they label it. I don't know if it's tier, but so then Sacred Heart plays Mercy twice, plays Sheehan twice, plays Hampton twice. All those really good teams play each other twice instead of playing some of the lower half teams. Now the CCC, like you said, it's just so huge. It's hard to Southington and Northwest Catholic aren't going to play this year, and Conard and Northwest Catholic will play once. Conard and Southington played once. And then there's teams with 1 or 2 losses like Tallinn that don't play any of those teams. So it's like, how do you measure those teams?
You measure them in the CCC tournament when they get a high seed and they get knocked off by a 12 or 11 or 10. I mean, or they go and they win a game that you don't expect them to. So, I mean, I get it. You want to reward the smaller teams, and you want to try to have similar sized schools, and I get the matchups, but obviously as fans you want to see the best matchups and the teams with the best seeds, but it doesn't always work out that way. It's worked out for boys, it's worked out in some cases for the girls, and like I said, sometimes there's mystery come March. I don't think there's going to be a lot of mystery between these teams come March. I think if they don't play each other, they know each other. I mean, Notre Dame-West Haven is not playing St. Bernard this year. They're not playing, but they went and played in Florida. They're playing out-of-state schools. That's going to get them ready. So there may be some mystery there as far as how they'll match up against these great Division I teams, because they don't play any of them. But we'll see. They're the defending champs for a reason. So,
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Double L girls. I mean, because you're going to have Sacred Heart in there, you're going to have Mercy in there, you're going to have Holy Cross in there. Unfortunately, Northwest Catholic's in L, but everyone else is in Double L. And as far as I can tell, those teams are pretty close. Mercy is playing close against Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart's playing close against Sheehan. They're going to overtime. Those 3 schools, there's not a lot between them. So when it gets to the state tournament, conference tournament, I think it's going to be wide open amongst the top teams. I don't know if a low seed can really make a run there. You get a 20-something seed in Double L. I don't know. Sometimes in lower classes you get it, but.
How do you think Holy Cross will react off the loss, and how do you think it will benefit them come March?
I think that playing Northwest Catholic can only make you better. And I think that they're going to be fine. They played really well. Northwest Catholic had a run in the third quarter and scored 25 points and went up by 9. And like I said, the rest of the game was even. And Holy Cross played them really well. Are they as good as Northwest Catholic? No. I think Northwest Catholic is clearly the best team in the state. I think Holy Cross, they're going to have to play Sacred Heart Academy probably at some point, or Mercy at some point in that state tournament. They've already played Mercy and beat them in the regular season. And again, a really close game. So I think Holy Cross only gets better by having Northwest Catholic there. Northwest Catholic only gets better going on the road and playing at Holy Cross in a packed gym. You can't replicate that. And that is a state tournament atmosphere where you get on a bus, you take a long bus ride, and you go play. Northwest Catholic probably won't be taking many bus rides to anywhere besides Mohegan Sun this year. But they'll probably get mostly home games. And they'll play a semifinal game at a neutral site. But I think those 2 teams are really, really good. I think a lot of the teams that I've mentioned are really excellent teams. Northwest Catholic, though, is clearly right now, unlike on the boys' side where there's some conversation, I think Northwest Catholic is clearly the best team on the girls' side.
You got a couple of girls in there from the soccer team that went to the finals.
That's right. Those schools are so small, they all play multiple sports.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You get that at Sacred Heart, you get that at Mercy, you get that at Northwest Catholic, absolutely. And, and as you know, we love multi-sport athletes.
Absolutely.
They're the best. But look, it was another fun week. We got more fun stuff coming up this week. And this was just another terrific show, man. It flies by every week. Joe and I love doing this show. And we love that you're listening, and we love that when we're going to these games, you're talking about it. So keep talking about it. Like I said at the top of the show, like us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, and always visit GametimeCT.com where you can see all of our stories, all the polls, all the top performers.
And the McDonald's All-American nominees. There's four
and the McDonald's
boys and
All-American
four
nominees,
girls.
which we forgot to even mention. That's
Well,
right.
there's usually a lot more, but I mean, a couple of names you're going to recognize. We mentioned them in the show, but obviously they pare it down to 24 each roster, East and West boys and girls, and the game is April 1st at the Barclays Center, so in Brooklyn. So again, if any of them make it, that's a great feather in their cap if they're able to get selected. That'd be tremendous.
That is the elite of the elite if you can get into that game.
Yes, it is.
So listen, for Joe, for producer Danny behind the scenes, I'm Scott. We will see you next week, courtside with GametimeCT.